Going live. Are we live? Is everything okay now? Is everything good? We had audio doubling on the earlier version of the stream. We had so many different issues. We were going live on Twitch. We were talking about the live reaction. Everything was screwing up. Then the audio was muted. But everybody, welcome. Today we are reading One Piece manga chapter 1133 for the very first time. As I mentioned in my intro, the first time that we were live this morning when everything screwed up, basically, unfortunately, I have been spoiled on the fact that this chapter is the Robin and Saul reunion chapter. People couldn't keep their mouths shut on social media. And to be honest, I completely understand. I feel like this is a moment we've been waiting for like, what, 19 years at this point? And so I feel like it is going to be an amazing chapter. I think going in knowing that Robin and Saul are going to reunite doesn't really ruin everything for me. This is something that, again, I have waited for a very, very long time. People have been, hyping this up pretty much ever since we've seen that Saul is basically alive. So I feel like this is going to be a tearjerker of a chapter, and that's great. It's a big reason why I wanted to sit down and read it all with you live, and then of course we'll have our review portion and look at the thumbnail and everything. But yeah, here we go. 1133. This chapter is called Nice Things, and it says Ogre Child Yamato's Golden Harvest Surrogate Pilgrimage, Volume 20. Hold'em attacks, drop your valuables. Okay. So Tama is being kidnapped by Hold'em once again. You've got a Speed. You can see the smoke coming off of Speed, falling down to the ground. And once again, Yamato, don't care about any of you. Let us get into the good stuff. 1133. Okay, 22 years ago, the scene in Ohara, it chilled me to my spine. It was an atrocity. The evacuation ship packed with innocent civilians suddenly exploded and went down in flames. To my dying day, I'll never forget the sounds of the screams that emerged from the fire. And Nico Robin did that? Not only that, but several other battleships were also sunk. She's a demon in the body of an 8-year-old child. The government won't go into detail about the story. The truth is so shocking and brutal that it'll traumatize children. If you see her, do not approach. Just tell the authorities. What? There's a criminal on this island? I met her. She had the eyes of a killer. What is this old lady talking about? What's she talking about? She doesn't have the eyes of a killer. She's got the brain of a veteran scholar, but no human emotions to go with it. And meanwhile, she's sitting there trying to take care of this poor little stray dog, feeding him some bones. Look at that bounty. Grab your guns and hunt her down. Don't be fooled by appearances. Your mercy is wasted on her. She uses freakish sorcery. Catch her as quickly as you can. I simply can't sleep at night knowing that she's out there. I wish she would just die already. Bro, why can't the Navy hurry up and finish her off? She's a menace to the world. Again, she's a child. This is unbelievable. Where is this even coming from? I'm telling you, these old folks, I'm feeling about these old folks how I feel about the old folks in Naruto. They gotta go. Get rid of them. Get rid of them. They're doing this to our poor little Robin. And meanwhile, you got Ovia saying, live, Robin, live. And she's looking over a cliff. Don't jump, Robin. We love you. You want to live. Come on, Robin. Listen carefully, Robin. You are all alone right now. But someday, without a doubt, you will meet your friends. But Saul, I'm so scared. Everyone scares me. When it's unbearable, remember what I taught you. Just laugh like this. You could see her looking on the map. What do you think you're doing? Dara she. I hear she travels from town to town, killing and robbing people, and you could see the little circle of Ohara on the map and how it's been wiped off the face of the earth. She lowers their defenses with her childish looks and slits their throats in the night. It's insane. I wish she would die. Meanwhile, Dara she running through all the horrible rumors. The brat deserves to be dead in a ditch somewhere. Go away forever. This is so brutal. This is brutal, bro. What are they doing to this poor girl, man? And meanwhile, she's just running dead as she. Man, Robin. Man. It's going to make it, being reminded of how horrible the people were to her, though, is going to make it all the sweeter once they actually reunite. I think that's going to be great. Present day, Elbaf, the New World. A port on top of a tree. Are we on the sea or the clouds? We're ready to dock. This is the port of the Western Village. Sea clouds. Welcome back, captains. You took so long that we got worried. It simply beggars the mind. Everything is on a different scale. What a grand sight. And you got little Lilith and Bonnie going, wowee. And they're here too. Oh, you guys, look at this. Isn't this wild? You got Luffy and Usopp with their Viking hats on. Bonnie's freaking out, and I love that Robin's holding little Bonnie too. Whoa, what is that? A spar. Oh, this is cool. A mist ship that uses the buoyancy of the island clouds to sail. It's all so amazing. I mean, how is this place so amazing? The climate in Elbaf is simply perfect. Island clouds, sea clouds, bubbles, rainbows, hovering. It can support all of these things. Straw Hat, Usoland and friends. I'm so glad to see you here in Elbaf. And you got Robin going, laughing as Nami's going, I knew you changed your hair, Robin. I see you've been getting into the Elbaf swing of things too. It's good to see you again, Haruden. I love that he remembers his name too. I think back to that chapter when the Grand Fleet was first formed, you know, and you have all the members of the Grand Fleet, and Luffy's like, I don't care, whatever you guys do. Like, it's cool that you help me and Dressrosa, but whatever you want to do, whatever you can do, whatever. And now he remembers him. He remembers the name. This is great. I've heard tell of all your exploits. You're an emperor of the sea now. That's the fleet captain that we all look up to. I'll give you full introductions to everyone later, but for now, and I love too that Road is just strapped to the pole, completely chained up like Loki. The four of us are the new giant pirates, and we are at your service. It's very nice to meet you. And I said you didn't need to follow me, but who cares? We're going to do it anyway. Well, again, at least he remembers his name. Again, I love the little Svar thing too, the little boat. Okay, let's continue. The news about how you beat Big Mom over in Wano made waves over here, and we never pay attention to the outside. Big Mom? I was Are we going to be getting Big Mom flashback stuff with the Robin and Saul stuff? Is that happening here? I was friends with Lin Lin long ago, but she did something unforgivable to Elbaf. Okay, interesting. That's where her brain goes. I mean, that's true. She did do something unforgivable to Elbaf. She killed the chief, but she's not mentioning the death of the kids, which I think is interesting that she's not bringing that up. We'll get to that. I'm going to keep reading the chapter. We'll get to that in my review portion. But I think it's interesting how that was worded. Because again, we saw her in Big Mom's flashback, but it's interesting that she's wording that it was something unforgivable to Elbaf and not the other stuff, which then gets the gears in my head turning and makes me think that a theory that we were talking about on stream like 100 chapters ago might actually be true. So let's continue. All right, you can catch up with them after a toast, Haruden. First, we're all going to eat and drink. And again, they've got Roto streamed up like that. We got a whole mountain of food over here, sived just for us. Ga-ba-ba-ba-ba. So come on into the pub, and I'm sure Luffy's going to have a great time. All the food is giant-sized. I'm starving. I've been so amped up that I've been running on empty. Come on, Luffy. But, hey, Luffy, I can go on my own. No, that's not going to happen. I want to see this. Good, so all of them are going to see the reuniting with Saul. This is good. Good. There's something else they got to do first before they feast. Lovely. I'm simply seeing the sights. I want to see this, and so do I. Me too. Everyone's in agreement. All right. Little Chopper sitting on the top of Gert's head, too. Dr. Saul wanted to show you the library, Robin. So we're taking you to the school below it. Thank you for guiding us, Gert. It's my pleasure. It's been a long trip. Now listen, Robin, the thing about being captain is you have to pay your respects to everyone who's helped out your crew. And she's like, what? Where'd you learn that? It's the honorable thing to do. Duh. What are you talking about? And again, little Bonnie is still traveling with her too. How cute is this? Okay, well, that's a good point. We can wait on the toast. Bring Saul back with you. And in the meantime, I'll prepare that special mousse for you. Take your time, folks. This is so cute. Okay, good. So Saul's coming back. Oh, man. I don't know if I'm prepared for this, to be honest. I feel like the characters. I feel like Robin. I'm not nervous to see him again. Oh, man. Warriors have to study hard too. Dr. Saul mostly teaches classes on history and various books. That is the Warrior's Spring, and right by it, the Owl Library. It looks like a beach. A sandy beach caused by part of the tree becoming fossilized and eroded. It doesn't have tides, but the waterfalls from the spring cause waves to lap on the shore. It seems like an ocean. It's beautiful. Love the design of this thing. All right, let's go find him. And then we can take Saul back to the pub. Meanwhile, Nami's pulling his mouth. Remember, Luffy, this is Robin's moment. That's right. And she's saying, my heart is racing. Oh no, Dr. Saul. Oh, that's right. I remember this is how it ended last time. He's fallen and he can't get up. Huh? Are you kidding me? We just got here. We're coming for a reunion 22 years in the making, and this happens now? I'm a doctor. I can handle this. Where's the patient? Exactly. We got Chopper with him. We're good. This is your time to shine, Chopper. We're all counting on you. He's over there. He simply fell over and... You old fool. Don't say that. That poor guy is sick. No, it'll be fine. Just let me go on my own. You all stay here. He's playing a game with her or something? Are you sure, Robin? Robin! I got all nervous for nothing. Okay, so clearly, you see him washed up on the shore. Oh, cute. And he's got the little, he's peeking his little eyes out and roar, trying to scare her. Oh, man. Did I shock you? Oh, man. Oh. And Saul looks down at the little child, Robin, and now she's all grown up. Robin. You're not a kid anymore. I'm sorry. I wasn't sure how I should greet you. And you still have that silly laugh. Oh, he's already crying. Yup. Still don't know how to laugh. Saul, former Navy HQ Vice Admiral, saved Robin's life. Now let me get a good peek at you. Interesting that it just says Saul and not Jaguar D. Saul on his little Oda box. I'm curious for the exemption. Did he think we forgot his name? And you can see his poor leg. Look how lovely you are now. You finally remind me of Olvia. You're just like her. Like my mother? We can't give up on the future of the world. You're going to understand someday. You have her gentle eyes, Robin. And anyway, did you hear Vegapunk's message? And she's like, I was there. I was there on the island, but I couldn't really make it out. I had to learn about it from the paper. He said that history is told by the winners, that those words came from Ohara. If they were left to be buried in history, they would have vanished without being heard. The scholars of Ohara sent out their voices. And Vegapunk is a scientist. He doesn't speak on good and evil, but he gave his life to pass those voices on. It's a huge step forward made possible by Ohara and Vegapunk's sacrifice. Oh man, this is so good. I'm sure it means big change for the future, yes. And you could see Robin touching his scar saying, your sacrifice too. And the little, shh, does it hurt? Oh man. Bet you can't believe I made it, huh? I guess the flames of the island melted the ice and dropped me in. And next thing I knew, I was drowning in the sea. I didn't find out where you were. I didn't find out you were still alive until a bit later. Okay, interesting. And the things they were saying about you, it made me so mad. I'm going to wait a little bit, but I feel like this explanation of how he lived also just confirmed two other things that we'll get to in just a bit. But I do think that is interesting that they chose to describe it in this way. I feel like I'm getting choked up already. I'm worried. I don't want to talk about bad things with you. Instead, Saul, I want to hear the nice things about how I survived. No kidding. a tiny child like you, on the run from the whole world, and you can see just squeezing her, and you get the little oof. Bless you for being alive, Robin. 22 whole years. Bless you for surviving. And bless you for coming to see me. Dude, this is, oh, man. And you got little Robin happy to see him, smiling again. Thinking back to how she was when she was a kid. Why do I have to live anyway? Mother, Professor Saul, I just want to die. I want to die. And now she's thinking back at how she was like suicidal as a kid. But now she wants to live. She's got a happy crew. She's got Saul again. I missed you so much, Saul. And oh, dude, this is so good. This is so good. And you got Saul going, she. I missed you too. Tears flowing out of their eyes, snot dripping out of their noses. The two of them hugging again. Luffy sitting there watching. Jinbei watching as well. Luffy not crying like the rest of the crew. Luffy's just smiling. He's happy to see this come to fruition. He's happy to see the people who helped his crew, the people who helped Robin. And meanwhile, you got Nami and Frankie and Sanji and Brook and Chopper and Usopp looking the other way, tearing up. Absolutely beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful little reunion. One Piece manga chapter 1133 end. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Loved this one. I mean, what is there to say? I loved this one. I knew I would love this one. I feel like this is just one of those chapters that, again, it's given you something that we've waited all these years for. And now we're finally here. They finally reunited, and honestly, like, Robin deserves this. Again, I think it was really smart of him to put the reminder of how brutal and terrible people were to her right at the very beginning of this chapter. And finally getting this moment, seeing them crying together, seeing how much she struggled. And that moment, that line from Robin, I think kind of sums up the whole chapter, where she says, I don't want to talk about the bad things. I want to talk about the nice things. I've been through the bad things enough. I've gone through all the bad things over and over and over again. She's like, I don't need this. I want to talk about the good things. I want to talk about the fact that I survived. I lived. I persevered through all of it. I went to that Water 7 moment. I want to live. Water 7 Ennie's lobby. It's peak, man. Lovely. Lovely, lovely, lovely to see this. And again, we got some extra little good stuff in the chapter as well, right? We got the little line from Gerd that I mentioned earlier that I'm going to go back to in a second. We got the introduction of those awesome like air skiffs, really cool technology. Vegapunk basically saying that all the tech from Egghead is going to work here due to the climate of Elbaf with the clouds and the perfect weather conditions. I also loved the look of his library sort of being off on the shore. I'm also curious because the other giants mentioned when they were going into the feast, the other giants mentioned specifically, take your time, take as much time as you need. So I almost feel like we are not only going to have this reunion, but I feel like we're going to go into a scene in the library as well. I feel like we are going to get some type of lore and some build out about the rest of the world before we actually end up going back to the feast. Maybe we won't. Maybe Oda's going to reserve that for something else. But I feel like we actually have to see more of the library. Right? You don't do that full introduction for the library and bring us all the way to the beach and have these two characters together, especially if there's only one chapter left this year, right? We only have literally one chapter left. One chapter. That's it. So I feel like it's going to have to be the library, is my guess. I got to see the inside of the library. I got to see more of the information about what happened with the Void Century and everything, or whatever else Saul knows, and how he mentioned that, like, Vegapunk, his sacrifice was worth it to bring us to where we are today. It was lovely. Absolutely lovely, man. Oh, I loved this one. History is told by the winners, and those words came from Ohara. If they were to be buried and left in history, they would have vanished without being heard. The scholars of Ohara sent out their and again, voices is all in caps too. So I'm thinking back to like the voice of all things stuff as well, and like the double meanings. I'm also, again, very curious why he chose to not write Jaguar D. Saul. I wonder if maybe it was meant to be like, I don't know. Does he think people forgot? and that we need to get sort of a reminder of that once we get back to the library. I'm just curious. The other thing I'm curious about that I want to mention real quick is the moment on page 14 and 15 where Saul explains how he lived, right? After all this time, he explains how he lived. And he says, "You can't believe I made it, huh? The flames of the island melted the ice and dropped me in, and next thing I knew, I was drowning in the sea." And you literally see Saul on fire, and you see the scars burned onto his face, which leads me to believe that once again, Roger was right, and that Saul is the man marked by flames. And people were saying I was stupid for saying that was the case, and I'm like, no, 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 it's going to be Saul. Because think about what we have left in the story and why Kid would want to go to the man marked by flames. Because if this guy was rumored to have the library of Ohara, the remnants of the library, and information about the road poneglyphs and the truth about the world, you need to go see the man marked by flames. So to me, this confirms it. To me, the man marked by flames thing within the community has sort of been the same thing as like the lurking legend thing, right? Where Oda mentioned the lurking legend, and then all these people were like, who is the lurking legend? Even though we already got Emu and we already got Rocks, and people were still speculating. It's like, bro, we were already there. We were there already. We got the lurking legends. There are no more lurking legends waiting in the story. That was the lurking legend. He was teasing that. I feel like that's this. Because again, think thematically within the story. Kid was going to Elbaf, right? One to confront Shanks, and then literally was going to Elbaf to meet the man marked by flames. We now have a man in Elbaf with marked by flames, marked by burn scars, that quite literally has the truth about the world. It seems very obvious to me. The only difference is that I said in all my old streams that I thought the man marked by flames with the burn scars was going to be like ice burn, like frostbite burns. But that wasn't the case. It was literally just the fire from Ohara, right? Him literally being burned. So I am very, very curious. I'm very curious what's going on there. But I feel like this pretty much confirms it to me. Because the other thing about it, and I'm seeing someone bring it up in my chat, right? That the man marked by flames was said to sail on a pitch black ship and cause whirlpools. Think back again to who was there in Ohara paying their respects. Think. Who was in Ohara? It was Vegapunk and Dragon. Dragon literally can create storms. We know this about Dragon. And he sails on a black Revolutionary Army ship. Like, to me, if someone saved Saul and brought him to Elbaf, I feel like things are kind of connecting. And I feel like it could be a mix of two things, where it was like the rumor about Saul and the rumor about the storms and everything just kind of combined and made, no pun intended, like a perfect storm. But we'll see. I might end up being wrong, but I do think the way Oda was interesting in this chapter with the way he worded a lot of things. One, with the explanation about Saul being alive, but also this over on page 8 and 9. I find very interesting. On page 8 and 9, you get that moment with Gerd, where she talks about Big Mom, and she says, I was friends with Lin Lin long ago, but she did something unforgivable to Elbaf. Now, remember, right? Big Mom in the flashback killed, Yorl and Jarl? What were their names? Back in old Elbaf, the old village chiefs. Big Mom, as a child, killed them. And obviously, all of Elbaf wanted her dead because of that. However, Big Mom also ate, we know she ate Mother Carmel, but potentially also ate the other children that were there. Now, I think it's interesting in this little explanation, if she did in fact eat those kids, that she wouldn't have brought that up. The reason why I find that interesting is because some of you know this. There has been a long-standing theory that the members of Cypher Pole, right, with the masks that we saw, line up with the characters that we saw as kids in Big Mom's flashback. We know already, right, we know this, that Mother Carmel was selling those kids to the world government to work for the Marines. So the assumption would be eventually, if these kids were being trained to, be high up within the government and high up within the military and high up within the Navy, those things would align that those kids would one day become members of Cypherpole. So again, I think, very good of Oda to word it in this way, to just say, I was friends with Lin long ago, but she did something unforgivable to Elbaf. I think that was very smart to keep that mystery going for just a little bit more, because I've said this before. I still think we are going to get more information about what happened while Big Mom was still in Elbaf, like way back in the day. I feel like we're going to get more of that during this arc. That's one of the few things that, I think we need it spelled out exactly what happened there, so that we can also better understand the thing with Loki and with Lola. I just think there's a couple little loose ends that need tying up. And I feel like that could be done in a chapter or two. But again, I liked the way that it was worded with the stuff with Gerd. I also liked that little reunion with Haruden and the new giant pirates and with Luffy, right? And Luffy going back to that moment being like, I didn't say you needed to follow me after Dressrosa, but I'm happy to see you again. And I'm happy you've been helping me. It's not like he's at least happy to see him, which I think is kind of cute. And again, I love those spars as well, those cool airships, the little mist ships that are bouncing all around the clouds. I think the technology is really neat. I also love, as a minor little thing, where you get in the very beginning of this chapter, right? You get the stuff with Child Robin suffering. And then you get at the very ending, you get adult Robin meeting with Saul again. But on the in-between, every time we see Robin, in between in this chapter, she's carrying little Bonnie. She's with Bonnie. And I think there's something really special there about the bond between Robin and Bonnie and what they've been through as children. And Robin wanting to do everything to protect this kid and keep an eye on this kid, having been in this kid's position before. I just think is very, very sweet. I genuinely really, really love that. And I just think it was a nice, again, it wasn't something that was honestly pushed to the forefront this chapter. It's just a nice little small thing that if you notice it, you notice it. Also, I'm seeing my man Viram in the chat. Viram, what's up, buddy? Saying, crazy to think that Saul's introduction in the manga was 19 years ago, almost to the day. Chapter 392. Man, 19 years ago. Oda really said, I'm going to drag this out as long as possible to try to hit that actual 22-year mark within the story for Robin and Saul to actually meet with each other again. Man. Yeah, no, it's a beautiful chapter, though. I mean, honestly, it's a beautiful chapter. I don't know what else there is to be said. This is exactly what I would have wanted out of a reunion with Robin and Saul. I think the only other thing is just how quickly the other people of the world turned on her. Where you get these moments where these old people are just straight up making stuff up about her. Saying, I can't sleep at night knowing she's going to slit my throat. And this other old lady saying, I met her, she has the eyes of a killer. All this stuff. It's terrible. Why they would go along with it. Terrible. Absolutely terrible. And again, I like that little bit where she's looking on the map and then she draws the circle of Ohara as well. Beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful reunion chapter. Exactly what I wanted out of it. No notes. No notes on this one. Oh, just looking back on some of these old panels too. That first reunion again when Robin walks up and she realizes that Saul is just playing a prank on him and that they don't need Chopper and that he actually didn't fall over and that was just a little bit of a gag. And then that panel too on page 12 and 13. I keep looking at this where he sees the child Robin and then you see her all grown up and it's why she changed her hair. So it's so good. It's so good. And how she persevered through all these years laughing. I'm excited to see more of it. I feel like in the grand scheme of the chapter, we actually really don't spend that much time with Robin and Saul reuniting. It's really only a few pages. And those few pages are very powerful, but I'm almost more excited to just see more of them together. To see more of the stuff in the library, to see more of them actually having conversations about, Robin's family and Ohara and bonding over the truth of the world. I think it's going to be beautiful. And again, them saying, well, we'll bring Saul back to the giant feast. My worry is that something is going to come into play to disrupt this beautiful little reunion, right? We get this reunion with Robin and Saul, Everything seems right in the world for a brief moment. It's precious. But now I'm somewhat concerned where maybe we get like some truth about the world in the library, and then on their way back to the feast, war breaks out, right? I'm somewhat concerned about that. I feel like there's a slight potential for Loki or for some other disruptor to come into play and to ruin this beautiful reunion and to potentially make things bad for Robin again. And even though they have this beautiful, touching moment of reuniting, somehow, some way, this gets messed up. I don't want it to. Robin's been through enough. I feel like I would rather things just stay nice for them. But I could definitely see a world in which this beautiful reunion is broken up by something bad. In the meantime, though, I'm not going to worry about that. In the meantime, I'm just happy to see these two characters again. But there's a lot of stuff at play. Again, we're in Warland. I don't think... I'm slightly concerned. That's the only thing. Beautiful chapter, though, man. I just keep looking back at this. Again, the Warriors Spring, this stuff with the Owl Library, having it perched on that hill. The whole thing is great. Everything about this is great. I need to see what James did for the thumbnail. Let's see what James did real quick. I'm going to X out of here. Give me a second. We're going to open this up, and I'm going to see. Oh, of course he did. Of course. Hold on. Let me open up the full screen. Look at this. Beautiful. You get the close-up of Robin hugging Saul. You get that little bit of a blur coming off the side of it. And then finally that close-up of Saul with Robin, tiny little Robin, hugging and crying. Perfect. No notes, James. No notes. Lovely, 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 lovely. Lovely, lovely thumbnail this week. What more is there to say about that? It's perfect. No more needs to be said. Roberto said, I was going to say I thought Dark Roger was coming out. Dark Roger was coming out for what? About this chapter? Why would Dark Roger come out? This is a good chapter. If it was a bad chapter, Dark Roger would come off. If somehow, some way they managed to screw up the reunion between the two of them, then maybe. But no. No, this was a beautiful chapter. Yeah, I do absolutely love this. Great thumbnail. Very heartwarming. I thought Dark Roger would have come out for being spoiled. No, again, like I said, being spoiled on this being a Robin and Saul reunion doesn't matter really to me at all. I think that's something that we all knew was going to happen at some point. And yeah, if anything, it almost got me a little more excited to read this chapter. I'm not saying that as like, a means to, hey, everybody go spoil me now. Please don't. I just mean for this one thing in particular, it didn't really necessarily, it didn't really bother me all that much. I don't know. It's just something like, of course this was going to happen in the story. If we didn't end up getting a beautiful reunion between Robin and Saul, we'd have issues. We'd have problems. So no, I wasn't really bothered by that at all. No. And Roberto said, no, I was instead talking about the dark possibilities that you were saying about the war breaking out. Oh, well, I mean, that's something we actually do have to take into consideration, though, is that I think there is a likely scenario in which we're in the library and then all of a sudden war breaks out or something happens. I'm also still wondering if Loki and Luffy swap places. See, my only thing is I think I'm anti that now. I think there was a part of the story at one point in which I thought maybe Luffy and Loki could have swapped places at one point. And especially even at that end of the introduction of walking into like the sun realm of Elbaf, where we got to see Luffy and Usopp's reaction to the village, where Luffy just kind of had like a generic grin on while Usopp was completely crying. I think to me, this chapter confirms that this is actually Luffy. Because this reunion obviously also means a lot to Luffy. Right? And you get that moment of Robin saying, well, where'd you find out that like you want to go and pay your respects to the people who took care of your crew? And he's like, because it's the right thing to do, dummy. Or like the little bit at the end of the chapter where he's smiling. I just feel like that further confirms, no, this is actually Luffy. This is our Luffy. Because again, this wouldn't matter to Loki. Even if Loki was pretending, it wouldn't have mattered to him at all. This reunion means nothing to Loki. So again, I feel like this is definitely Luffy in this scene. if this is in fact Loki watching over this reunion between Robin and Saul, I don't think I would actually like that. I feel like that would almost make this worse if that was actually Loki in this moment. Because to me, minor spoilers, by the way, for the MCU show Secret Invasion. If you haven't watched Secret Invasion, don't. In fact, I'm going to spoil you on Secret Invasion. I'm going to save you the time to not watch that garbage show. Okay? Minor spoilers for the show Secret Invasion. In Secret Invasion, it is revealed that Rhodey, War Machine, right? In the moment in which Tony Stark dies in Avengers Endgame, it's revealed in Secret Invasion that Rhodey, in that moment during Endgame, was actually a Skrull and was not actually Tony Stark's best friend. To me, that moment, knowing that was just some Skrull that was acting and wasn't actually Rhodey, is made retroactively worse by the fact that it was a Skrull and not actually Rhodey. I feel like it would be a similar situation here if this was Loki as Luffy and not actually Luffy watching over the reunion between Saul and Robin. And I feel like I trust Oda enough to not do that. And I think it was cool how he was playing with our expectations a little bit earlier on in Elbaf, making Luffy do things that were out of character, right? The whole thing saying, I'm full when he was going to eat the roasted rabbit. The whole thing where he was kind of sweating during the conversation about Loki in the forest. During last chapter where he just kind of had like some generic faces versus the faces of the rest of his crew. I think there were definitely seeds of Luffy not being Luffy. But this chapter kind of set aside all doubts for me. This chapter confirmed for me 100% Luffy is who he says he is. This is definitely Luffy. Because this is too big of a moment in the story and too much of like a heartwarming, important moment for our crew for it to not be, you know? So yeah, beautiful. Absolutely, absolutely beautiful thumbnail, James. Well done. Well done. Everyone give a little applause emote for James in the chat. Very well done. Beautiful, beautiful. With that being said, I basically want to get in some of these super chats. I want to see what people are talking about. Let's see. All right, so let's go all the way up. We got Rob Harley super chatting, saying 22 years in One Piece time, a week off 19 years for us, just like what Viram was saying earlier. Saul first appeared in the same way in chapter 392, released all the way back on December 12th, 2005. And Rob said, I'm not the biggest Robust man of the world, but even I shed a tear at that. Lovely. Also, I love how Robin pretty much has the subtlety that, has pretty much subtly adopted Bonnie, going back to what I was saying too. Beautiful. Tech Zero says this was Robin's biggest W and was absolutely worth the wait. Your boy was shedding tears reading this chapter from Tech Zero. That was a beautiful, beautiful chapter. Again, it's a reunion. I was choking up a little bit, but I wasn't like fully crying because I think we didn't necessarily spend enough time for me to fully be absorbed in it with Saul and Robin. I almost feel like a moment in which they talk about the truth of Ohara and the Void Century and they're bonding over that would maybe get me to cry even more. The moment and the line in this chapter that really almost got me to shed a tear was that thing from Robin where she said specifically, let's not talk about the bad things. Let's talk about the good things. And that I survived. Tell me you're proud of me. Like that. That was what hit. That was a very good moment. Clax super chatted and said, I think the omission of Jaguar D was just so it felt more like a callback to the initial introduction of Saul, where we actually didn't know his full name. Maybe it could have been that. It could have been that. Just a little bit of callback to the first time that we met him. I could see that being the case. Sure. Sylvan became a member for 21 months. Appreciate that. Nakama saying, my theory is that we're going to cut to Wano in lava. Kaido's going to be missing a leg. Big Mom's going to be missing an arm. And they set out to get the last road poneglyph in Elbaf. And along the way, they picked up Zebek. Oh, boy. I don't even want to entertain that possibility. Let's not entertain that. Kaido coming back to life and Wano. I don't even want to. Let's not. But Sylvan, thank you for the membership. Appreciate it. Zaro Arctivus came through with the super chat. Thank you very much, saying, I know we discussed Loki's devil fruit powers, but could he have also had powers similar to Heimdall, the all-seeing, which is maybe why his eyes were covered? That could be interesting. Yeah. You mean like you think that Oda is potentially sort of mixing up some of that Norse mythology and some of that lore and putting two things into one with Loki? That would be cool. I do wonder how many of those Norse characters we're actually going to meet here. Like if Odin, if Loki, if Freya, if Heimdall, if these are actually going to be characters that show up in Elbaf, or if these are going to be things that are tied to like the history of Elbaf itself that we're going to find out. I'm also curious, again, I want to know what's in the library. I almost feel like the library now in Elbaf is almost like the basement in Attack on Titan, right? Where it's like, I want to get there to find out more of this world building stuff and to find out more of the truth. Like, we still need to find out what the devil fruit was that was passed down by the royal family that leads Loki to believe that he's the sun god. We need to know all that stuff. We got to know more about the death of his father. We got to know more about what happened when Big Mom was here. We got to know more about the history of Elbaf. And again, like whether or not characters like Freya and Odin and the rest of them are all going to be there. I'm very, very curious. And I also wonder again, if we find out maybe potentially something about the Will of D here. And that's when Saul is going to bring it back up and be like, oh, my real name's actually Jaguar D. Saul. And that's going to tie into something as well. I don't know. Beautiful chapter, though. Yeah. Absolutely beautiful chapter. I'm going to cry if Robin goes to the library and sees the books of Ohara. That's what I'm saying, Heidi. I feel like that, to me, is almost potentially even going to hit as hard as this. Because to me, Saul and Robin both suffered, right? They both saw what happened and made it out on the other side alive. But for Robin to actually see that not all hope was lost, right? And that there is still a glimmer of life of Ohara that's been left and kept all these years by the man that protected her all these years. I almost feel like that's going to hit me even more. Beautiful chapter. Roger, do you think Loki's third fruit could be an ancient weapon? You think the fruit could be an ancient weapon? I mean, maybe. I don't necessarily think that's the case, but it would be interesting if an ancient weapon would literally be a devil fruit. That would be very cool. Yeah. Hendrix also said, no theories from me this week. I just hope you have a lovely Sunday as we go on break again. Thank you very much. Yeah, it's been tough, obviously, I know, for a lot of you guys, because I know some of you who just tune in for the One Piece stuff, you tune in, come in on Sunday, and then wait for the next chapter. But I feel like in between for some of these breaks, we've had these massive jumps in subscribers, and we've been doing lots of things here on the YouTube channel while you guys have been gone. It's almost like I've been having time skips in between these chapter breaks. And the same thing is going to happen during the next break as well, because in between with next week, us going on break with the chapter, next week is the Game Awards. So there's going to be a lot of stuff happening here on the YouTube channel with the Game Awards as well. I mean, even since the last chapter, look, we're at like, what, 415,000 subscribers on the YouTube channel now? Incredible. Absolutely incredible. Ryan said, I just thought he dropped One Piece. Exactly. Because I've been uploading all this stuff. Of course not, I haven't. Of course not. I'm here live every Sunday. Just because I don't do the chapters with the scans, because I do them with, what's it called, the official release, which I have been doing them like that for 3-4 years, you know. Of course I didn't drop it. Yeah. By the way, Roger, what are your thoughts on Frankie's voice actor announcement? Yeah, I put out the tweet. I'll even go to my tweet about this. I put out the tweet a while ago. I think I did this yesterday, actually. Talking about the news, in case you guys haven't heard it, that Kazuki Yao, who is the voice of Frankie and Django and Bon Clay, is stepping down from his role in One Piece, that his replacement is going to be announced. Here, I'll open this up a little bit more so you guys can read it. There you go. That his replacement's going to get announced during Jump Festa. They're going to have like a graduation ceremony for him. I'm honestly not surprised by this, and I'm also actually happy that this is happening, because if you've been seeing him recently in photos of the cast, he's been looking rough. He hasn't been looking healthy, and you could hear it in his voice as well. I know it's ironic me saying this when I've got like a scratchy voice, but I'm doing these things in the morning, first thing when I wake up. He's like in the booth trying his best, but you could hear the strain on his voice in some of the recent episodes, like within Egghead Island with Frankie. You could hear the difference in the way he was actually speaking, dating back to like 10 years ago. And so I'd much rather he just stay healthy, focus on his health, not worry about One Piece. Obviously, we thank him for all the hard work that he did as the voice of Frankie and Bon Clay and Django over the years. But, you know, I feel like whoever they're going to get to replace him, I'm sure is going to be good. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think Randy said this during the Agenda Reverie yesterday. I think the voice of Django was already announced to be the voice of Bellamy, right? It was either Django or Bon Clay. One of the two of them, their voices were already replaced by the guy who's the voice actor for Bellamy. So the assumption is that if he's done other voices that were this guy's characters, that he will probably also do the voice of Frankie as well, but we don't know that for sure. And, you know, we'll get the official confirmation on Sunday, December 22nd. And that's also interesting because looking at this, the 22nd during Jump Festa is also when we are going to get the final chapter of the year. Normally, Jump Festa doesn't line up with the chapters. Normally, we get a chapter, Jump Festa is the break week, and then we go into the first chapter of the next year, and usually it ends up getting spoiled early in the year. That's not going to be the case this year. This year, we're getting a chapter the weekend of Jump Festa. So I think we'll probably go over all the Jump Festa news and stuff during the upcoming manga chapter reaction to One Piece. So 11:34, we'll probably go over all the Jump Festa stuff. But yeah. Again, I'm happy that he's going to get a chance to retire. Yes, Jump Festa is the 22nd, exactly. And the break is almost never for Jump Festa either. It's usually for Christmas. Right. But that's what I'm saying. It lines up weirdly this year. It lines up very odd because we've got a break this week and then we've got the other one, and then Christmas is going to be like 2 days later. Well, yeah, it'll be 2 days later for us because it'll be Monday the 23rd. So it'll be 2 days later, and then boom, last chapter of the year. We'll get it when I get back. Hopefully a new movie is going to get announced during Jump Festa. I don't think they would overshadow the Frankie stuff with a movie announcement. I don't know. I don't think they're going to overshadow it. The chapter will probably leak a week early, though. Well, again, if it does, I'm certainly not going to be reacting to it. We'll react to it. My last reaction for this year is going to be 2 Sundays from now. So if the chapter does end up leaking early, I'm not reading it, obviously. I never read it. I only do the official release. I will only ever do the official release from here on out. Not changing that. So my first reaction of the next year will be for 1,135, and my last reaction will be for 1,134. Yeah. But, yeah, I'm trying to think. What else could we get an announcement for at Jump Festa? Honestly, I think if we get any type of announcement at Jump Festa, in addition to the announcement of the new VA, I'm also thinking maybe we could see a teaser of the One Piece, right? Studio Wit's updated version of One Piece. We already saw that little bit of a teaser of some of the stuff that they were working on in that like trailer that they released on social media like 3-4 months ago. I could see something similar to that being shown at Jump Festa. I could also see them doing maybe like a little teaser of something from the live action. But obviously the live action is either just now wrapping filming or is about to wrap up filming. So they're probably not going to have much. And my assumption is live action stuff is we're not going to get trailers for that probably until Geek Week next year. So that's like June next year is probably when we're going to be seeing stuff from season 2. If the assumption is to be that the next season of One Piece live action is for the end of next year, sort of in the same way that One Piece, season 1 was sort of towards the end of last year. Yeah, so we'll see. I don't know. It might also be a good time to fully reveal Chopper and maybe announce the voice actor. Maybe that. I could see that happening as well. Yeah. I could see that happening as well. That maybe at some point during Jump Festa, they actually show the full Chopper design. I could totally actually see that. It does seem like a good announcement for Jump Festa. Them showing Chopper. announcing the voice actor, announcing the Frankie voice actor, and maybe doing a teaser for the One Piece. There's too many other big One Piece projects that I think a movie would just overshadow a lot of that stuff. And I'd rather they not announce a movie just now. I also this is going to sound weird, I kind of don't want a movie until after Elbaf is over. I kind of want the movie to be in between after Elbaf is done and before Final War, if possible. I don't know. I feel like we don't really need a new movie at this point. I'm not dying for a new non-canon story after Film Red. Unless we're getting something that's like fleshing out a character like Rocks or something like that. Or Mihawk or something, right? If we get a movie based on another character and it's just fleshing out more of their story and doesn't really have much to do with the main crew, but then again, the main crew's already here, so... And then that would throw into a tizzy, like, would Vegapunk be with that crew? Would Lilith still be with them? Would Bonnie and Kuma be with them? It's just weird. The timing is weird for a movie. Yeah. Rob donated again and said, yeah, Wataru Tagaki, who does Bellamy's voice, actually replaced Kazuki Yao on Django. And interestingly enough, he also did Vanderdecken and was the original voice for Zoro in the OVA back in 1998. That's correct. He was. Yeah, he was. So... yeah, I feel like maybe he'll be the replacement. But if he's not the replacement, again, I have full faith that whoever they're going to get is going to be great and is going to do a good job replacing Kazuki Yao. But again, I am just happy that he's retiring and is going to be able to focus on his health. Because that's what's most important at the end of the day, right? Like, obviously, we all love One Piece. We all love the anime. We all love his voice as Frankie. But we all want to see him be healthy. So, yeah. Nothing wrong with that at all. I'm happy he's stepping down. Any other super chats? Let me see. I think that's actually it for this week. I think this is a pretty quiet week for super chats, which, to be fair, this wasn't really like a theory type of chapter. This is more of just like a heartwarming, nice little chapter. So not really a huge surprise there. Do you think Bonnie won't join after this chapter? It's becoming reality. My answer is and I mean this genuinely, and I don't mean this rudely. I don't care. I don't care what's happening with the next Straw Hat anymore at this point. The only thing I care about is Vivi. Vivi is the big thing that I care about. I feel like, obviously, that's going to happen because we saw the whole thing with the newspaper, with the X that Vivi wrote for them. And it was specifically the Alabasta characters were gone when the other characters in the crew saw it. But in terms of, like, next Straw Hats, I don't care. I've been burned so many times at this point with, like, Yamato and Carrot. I don't care. If it's Bonnie, if it's Lilith, if it's Yamato coming back, if it's Carrot, I don't care. I don't care at all. The thing I care about is Vivi reuniting with them. That's the only thing that matters to me. At this point, I don't need any other characters to join. And I don't want to set the expectation that other characters will join because I feel like I hate this. This is something about the community that I don't like, but this is also something that I've come to acknowledge might be true, is that as a content creator with a loud voice and with the big audience, I think there is some level of responsibility to not set high expectations and to not put in place headcanon on certain things. And I think something along the lines of like the next Straw Hat is just something that I personally feel I should not be setting expectations for. Because I did it in the past and I saw how it ruined other people's enjoyment of certain things, like when Carrot didn't end up joining and Yamato didn't end up joining. And while it didn't hinder my overall enjoyment of certain things, I do feel like at the end of the day, I don't want to continue perpetuating like next Straw Hat theories and stuff like that. Because to be honest, I feel like it's only going to burn people. I feel like, you know, if you haven't seen Jay's recent video about like how Wano really like ruined his enjoyment of One Piece temporarily, you should really go watch that video because he says all of these things in that video that completely align with things that you guys heard me say 4 years ago, right? Which is that I feel like and the big reason as to why I did that video about like why Egghead sort of renewed my love of One Piece is I feel like at this point, Wano taught me that despite the expectations that Oda put in place for that and all the stuff that they were setting up for Yamato, that arc did not, in my opinion, live up to the expectations that I had for it. That I had more faith in Oda as a writer to actually deliver things that did not end up getting delivered. And that, you know, everybody makes mistakes. It's fine. Oda's a human too. But personally, I feel like he really fumbled with Wano Country. And while there were really high highs, I think because of so many things that I assumed would happen not happening, I did sort of remove myself from the theory portion of the community and the speculation portion of the community in terms of like laying a stake on this is the next Straw Hat. This is going to be the thing that we absolutely need to see before the end of the arc. Now I'm just kind of letting the stuff wash over me, right? And I feel like I've been enjoying Elbaf much more for that. Like I've been enjoying it just like as a casual reader, going in being like, what are we going to get this week? Oh, we're getting like, again, even like what happened this week, right? Being spoiled on the Robin and Saul thing. Had that happened like 2 arcs ago, I would have been devastated. I'd have been like, I can't believe someone spoiled this for me. Like, what the heck? And I would have gotten angry. Now I don't care. I really don't care at this point because I feel like we're so close to the end that like, while obviously I would like to remain unspoiled about things, if I do end up getting spoiled on stuff because I'm going in as more of a casual reader and because I'm just going in without any real expectations, I'm having a good time. Yeah. And also I feel like, again, the pacing of Elbaf has been very good so far. Like the fact that already within how many chapters have we had? Like what, 1, 2, 3, 4. We've had like what, 8 or 9 chapters of Elbaf, and we've already gotten through all the stuff with the Lego Castle. We already got reunited with the new giant pirates. We already got the bounty for Loki. We already found out more about Elbaf. We already got the layout of the entire kingdom. We already got the Straw Hats reuniting, even though they were separated at the beginning. We already got Robin and Saul reuniting. Again, if this was another story arc, if this was Dressrosa, if this was Whole Cake, if this was Wano, getting to this point in the story would have taken like 25 to 30 chapters. So the fact that we're here with just like 8 or 9 chapters leads me to believe that he learned his lesson after Wano Country. And I feel like, again, I mentioned this in my video about Egghead. I feel like he learned his lesson in Egghead. Right, I think Egghead was longer than a lot of us were expecting, but I also feel like Egghead introduced a lot of things that exceeded our expectations as well, right? Like bringing in the Gorosei, actually seeing all of them, getting the full Kuma flashback, getting Vegapunk's speech. Like there was a lot of stuff, Cypher Pole even, like the Luffy and Lucci clash that happened, the rematch with them, getting Kizaru versus Luffy. Like there was a lot of stuff that happened in that arc. A lot of things that got resolved during that arc that realistically, again, had this been, and there were a lot of characters that were put in place there too. We had like all the vice admirals that came into play towards the end of that arc as well. But I feel like it always felt like it was moving. You know what I mean? It always just felt like the story was moving forward in a way that I feel like Wano really burned me, you know, where I felt like I needed to actually take a break from a story. So yeah. I'm loving Elbaf so far. That all of that to say I'm loving Elbaf. I thoroughly enjoyed this chapter, and yeah, and that's that. Off topic, by the way, but do we know how long the Hunter x Hunter break will be? I'm thinking of reading it through before it comes back. I want to pace myself. I'm actually glad you bring that up, Clax, because as many of you know, if you tuned in earlier in the stream, normally I do my Manga Sunday streams over on Twitch, where I live react to One Piece. We do the horizontal version, and then I go straight into the stuff with Hunter x Hunter. Because of all the issues on Twitch, unfortunately, there is no horizontal version of today's VOD. This is the only version of the VOD. However, right after this stream is over, I'm going to be going over to Twitch and doing my live reaction to the new chapter of Hunter x Hunter, and that will be uploaded over on the VOD channel. So if you're looking for my reaction to the final chapter before the big hiatus of Hunter x Hunter, that will be up on the VOD channel a little bit later today. So stay tuned for that. That's going to be really good. I'm looking forward to it too. I feel like all the stuff with the card game of Morena has been very interesting. I'm not going to get into spoilers, obviously, because I don't want to spoil people who aren't caught up to Hunter x Hunter. But yeah, I feel like they haven't announced a return date. It's just going on an indefinite hiatus. But my assumption is probably going to come back next year. Togashi's probably going to heal up, write a few more chapters, and then come back next year. But again, there's been a lot of things moving forward in the story of Hunter x Hunter where I feel like we got more than I was even expecting in this batch of chapters, in this volume, since he came back. So yeah, that'll be that. But no, there is no exact return date just yet for Hunter x Hunter. I think the breaks he took honestly really helped. Completely agree. Yeah, completely agree. I even said, I don't think calling yourself a casual reader is the correct term. You're passionate about One Piece. You're just not passionate about the speculation anymore, which honestly is a good thing. Maybe. Yeah, maybe. That could actually be the case. Yeah, because again, I am still passionate about One Piece. I love One Piece. But you're right. I think there was definitely a time in which the theory and speculation portion of it was the thing that got me reading week to week. And now that's not the thing that I'm looking forward to. Now I just wake up and I'm just excited to see what the chapter is going to bring me. And it is what it is. Yeah. This is potentially a topic for a whole nother video, though. I do think there is something beneficial in the aspect of One Piece, though, that was like surrounding the mystery of the story and like guessing what was going to happen next. And I think a lot of that is taken away from the fact that we're in the final saga now too, right? That like we're so close to the end that I almost feel like speculating a little too much could potentially ruin things moving forward. But yeah, you've simply become an analytical reader, but not a theory crafter. Yeah. I think tempering expectations is the best way to word it. All of us probably got carried away with fan theories and hopes for new Straw Hats, but it doesn't necessarily detract from our passion for One Piece. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, I still love One Piece, obviously. I'll always love One Piece. There's nothing, there honestly is nothing Oda could do, barring like, he would have to like bring back a zombie ace from Moria's powers. He would have to bring back like a zombie ace to fight alongside Sabo against Akainu in Final War. And what's something else? Something else that like would make me drop it. There's very few things. What else could he do that would make me drop One Piece altogether? If the crew washes away from Elbaf, there's a giant war at the end of Elbaf, right? And all of Elbaf is destroyed. And the crew gets separated and washes to a bunch of different shores and a bunch of different islands before Final War, and all of them have amnesia. I would drop One Piece. I would drop it at that point. If there was some massive attack on Elbaf that separates the crew and all of them have amnesia and they all have to get their memories back, I'd be done. I would officially be done. I would be full-time gaming content creator. Heidi said, don't you dare put that out there. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. It would take something really bad like that for me to drop it at this point. Exactly. Exactly. All right, well, guys, thank you very much for tuning in this week. Greatly appreciated. Of course, I'll be back with my live reaction to 1134 in 2 weeks right here on the YouTube channel. In the meantime, like, comment, subscribe, and until next time, I'll talk to you guys later. And again, if you're interested in seeing my reaction to Hunter x Hunter, that will be on Twitch in just a couple minutes. So thank you once again to all my viewers, to all my members. Like, comment, subscribe, and until next time, I'll talk to you guys later. Nakama! Have a wonderful Sunday.